Okay. Here we are. This is Wednesday, and we have a very special guest today for our conversations during the pandemia. I am very glad to share the conversation today with my admired and beloved Lisa Remnelid. Um, Live from Sweden. Lisa, how are you doing? Good afternoon.
Woo! Surviving. No, not surviving.
Surviving.
Andy, this is embarrassing to say, but living life almost quite in a normal way, if that sounds
I
totally crazy.
know. I
You
know. I know. I
the
know.
whole world read about us crazy Swedes, right? Right? So
Yeah.
you can imagine. I belong to the crazy people. No, I'm kidding. We're not.
Lisa, you have a admirable career working globally for multinational companies, as a C-level director, also as an entrepreneurship. You work with causes, with women, diversity. But today, I would love to share with the people your experience precisely with this very important word on these days, that is the brand experience. What's the vision from your perspective about how brands are offering, delivering, and fulfilling a great experience for customers and clients?
Right now, you mean in the middle of this?
No, in general, not particularly these days, but in general,
In,
overall, during this digital age, in the last couple of years and ahead.
put it this way, Andy. I'm a bit of I'm a service freak. Okay, something must have happened to me when I was born, because I had that mindset already as a young kid, and I'm not kidding. You can confirm that with my mother. I used to go. I'm not joking. I used to go into stores, and it wasn't always to buy things. I just was so fascinated to understand the psychology and the relationship between customer and between the person serving the customer. And very soon in my teenage years, I started to work in retail. And in Australia, we are brought up with a very strong service factor.
Yeah,
Customer is king. When I was growing up and I started my career, that is what we were focusing on, the good old fashioned basics.
yeah,
And we used to have passion about that when we would be working on a sales floor. And that is something that we would deliver as well when we would be working with teams of people, the frontline people, and we would be always talking about those values of service, because you
yeah,
can't have a brand and you can't lie to people and say, we deliver X, but your frontline people deliver Y.
yeah,
Z. You can't do that. Do you know what I mean? Us as human beings are not stupid. We get it and we understand. And the thing is, today we have so much choice to choose from, more than never before. I mean, it's ludicrous almost. And we cannot afford, and I'll say this now, to wait for a crisis to happen to wake up.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly the situation we're in now.
yeah,
Now, as we say in Aussie land, now we're shitting our pants. Now we're saying, oh, good. Oh, now I need to react. Now I need to pull my finger out from behind and do something. So I
yeah.
think there's a lot of work, and I think there are a lot of opportunities out there available to really work with the brand, connect it to the service components of the brand, and deliver something really spectacular that has a value driven purpose.
Excellent. Lisa, when you were a little bit younger and you were a kid, what was the
Ah,
thing that what was the thing that struck you more from a great service, and what is it that you give more value these days? Is it the same? Is it different according to your maturity? The vision about service is changing as well or not?
Andy, the simple, really short question, no.
Okay.
I mean, how fantastic is it to walk into a place? Okay, let's just take a restaurant. You walk into a restaurant and you're greeted with a smile. You're greeted with somebody behind the counter, the host, that is happy to see you and is thankful to see you. And I'm not saying that they have to actually verbally say, thank you for walking in, Lisa. But the way their energy, you can read it off of some people, the energy bounces off them, that they're so happy. You know, our family love traveling to Italy because every time we go to these small villages in Italy, and I'm not talking about the big tourist centers, but the small villages, and you go into the local restaurants. Oh my God, they're so happy to see people in there.
Yeah.
They are like bursting with excitement. And then when they start to talk about the food and the passion. Passion. And I can say to you, passion is something that's existed, Andy, for millions of years. Passion is going to exist even after we're dead and buried, and it's going to go on for another million years. So it's like I say, it's not rocket science, but for some reason, as humans, we forget that when we're in we forget it. And I don't know why. I don't understand why it's something that's forgotten.
When we talk to brands and to companies, we tell them about these essentials, these basics about smiling, welcoming, being passionate about what they do, talking in a way that is creating a good atmosphere in the place and with the people. Everything is free. Everything is not even cheap. It's free. You smile for free. You hug for free. You can receive people for free, and it's very profitable because when you are well treated, you want to come back and you want to suggest and share. From your perspective, you have been working for top multinationals. You have been working all around the world. Why is it so difficult to do it if it's so good for the business?
If only I knew. That's $1 million question that I'm still trying to figure out, and I hope I get to figure it out one day. It's funny because, you know, when you put that conversation on the table, I do a lot of mystery shopping. And with mystery shopping, I mean, basically it is, you know, I do what it's called. I go in, I wear the hat of the customer. I have my own checklist already devised, and I look at very specific things. Then when I compile those results, and then for me, it's not a shock what I see. It just basically confirms a lot of things that I already knew were going on. But I can say what's interesting is when I share those results with management and even share them. So let's just say if I share them with management, landlords running a shopping center, very often I get some very strange answers like, well, we're the landlord. Can we really tell? Let's just use an example of a very famous fashion retailer who is Spanish. I think you know who. If I say to him, listen, I went in here, I had the most dreadful service, this and this and this happened. I mean, the question I get is, can I really tell that leading brand how they should run their service business in my shopping center? Now, Andy, you tell me, is there something wrong with that question?
No, not at all, no.
What you're saying then is I maybe don't value service to a point where I dare to take that up to another level with the tenants in the center. Many times I've been told, oh, but Lisa, they're tenants. They know what they're doing. Do they?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really weird because service we've been talking about for years and years and years. There are books written about this topic from way back. But it's going back down to the basics. Me as the human, my personality, my passion, my happiness for being at that place at that time, my attention to detail with you is what you're going to remember. You're not going to remember how beautifully I wrapped up that parcel for you. You're going to remember the energy I had when I gave that to you. And when I talk about energy, I'm not talking about being over the top and ridiculous. And do you know what I mean? Because I actually was accused by a Swedish woman of doing that. She said to me, oh, you talk about service. We're not like you Aussies, Lisa. And I said, what? You don't smile? I said to her, the smile is international.
Yeah. We all
So
smile in the same language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a fascinating topic. And I think it's because maybe companies expect, it's not like when you do 50% off, there's an instant behavior that happens. Service is something that you build up over time. You know, it's not a short-term fix. It's a long-term investment.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think sometimes companies think, oh, there's no point investing in that because we have to wait quite some time to reap the benefits. But the benefits, if you do it well, are the long-term sustainable benefits.
Yeah. I always say that the way you make people feel is your brand, and my guess is that many companies are not creating a great experience or a great service because they believe they don't know who they are as a brand, and maybe they want to outsource that into the service department when service is about the attitude of the whole company, from the president to the bottom. You have been, as I said, working and advising, and still today working and advising with companies from tourism, services, destination, retail, etc., etc. And is there anything we can say today, right now, to create an awareness of why this is going to be more essential than before?
Andy, look how we are as citizens of the world right now. We don't know if we're Arthur or if we're Martha. You know what I mean by that comment? We don't know if we're going backwards or if we're going forwards, if we're going left, if we're going right. I think it's time that we as brands that have brands can start to really invest in a trust factor. In other words, act, behave, do things that show to consumers you can trust me. So I think there are great opportunities in the market to really play that card, the trust card. And the trust card, because as I said before, we have a lot of businesses out there that they're really struggling. You know, they're fighting for their lives. Others are booming right now. Other categories are just shh. And I think to myself, for those companies that are booming during these times, great. What happens when the, and I want to use the word crisis, but the way that we're living right now kind of plateaus and changes and maybe goes back to a little bit of normality, not total normality, because I think those days are over. How will those companies also behave? Will they go back to doing what they were doing, or will they all of a sudden realize, wow, we really were able to capture, you know, loyalty and show consumers that we understand the needs that they have, and then really encapsulate a trust factor. I hope that they do that. And then the ones that are right now struggling and do not have the capacity to think like that almost need to take charge. They need to do a brainstorming session and say, guys, come on, now we need to react, and now we need to look at how can we be of value, because this is now about value to the citizens of the world, or the citizens of Malmö, or wherever you find yourself. So I think we need to kind of reinvent the wheel, but we need to be even more mindful about how is it that we can make sure we are fulfilling those needs, because those needs that we had 1 month ago are not the same needs that we have today, or probably in 1 month's time.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, Lisa, there is a proverb, I don't remember the author, that says that the guy that invented the wheel was not the genius. The genius was the one that invented the other 3 ones.
Yeah.
So when you talk about reinventing the wheel and rethinking brands and understanding once and for all the perpetual change in the behavior of customers and clients, what's the vision for the day after? What do they need to start doing now, not after the crisis, to be prepared for the new normal?
Yeah. I think now really, there's nothing wrong with companies showing their vulnerable side. There is absolutely no, I mean, I would be surprised if companies were going around saying, well, we're really good right now. Life is looking good. I mean, that's almost insulting in one way, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, in fact, what I was talking about today with some wonderful entrepreneurial women was, in fact, we need to help not only the final consumer, but there's many companies that have consumers in between. There's like a chain of events with customers, and we need to go back and almost secure that we have taken charge and really looked after the relationship. It's about relationship building. And we need to go back and really assess what kind of relationship did we used to have with our suppliers. Really honestly go within and ask yourself, was it good? Was it bad? Almost doing like a SWOT analysis on yourself. And then trying to understand the chain of events. And then saying to yourself, okay, maybe I treated this supplier really bad. I made them really cut their margins, and I was really demanding, and I was really arrogant customer. And then you kind of ask yourself, okay, so you can identify that you weren't the nicest person to that supplier. How could you then expect that supplier to be nice to the next chain of events? Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
It almost goes back to how we are with each other in organizations. If the leader of an organization doesn't know how to respect and take in different insights and ask even the juniors in an office, one of your speakers the other day, Emma Yimmer, I think her name is.
Giner, yeah, Emma, yes.
Giner. She talked about reverse mentoring.
Yeah.
God, I fell in love with that. And I had a conversation yesterday with a young millennial who runs NordicEntrepreneur.com.
Yeah.
And I said to him, we put so much focus in organizations that the younger one has to look for someone who's senior because they know better and they know everything. But instead, if you reverse it, imagine how much we can learn from the youngsters at these times. They can have a totally different perspective. So
Indeed.
I think what we need to do when you talk about the day after is we need to address now. And we need to actually start to put things into action. And we need to almost have, short-term, but also long-term strategies.
Indeed, yeah.
Don't we? That is sustainable. We talk so much about sustainability, but we need to really be working in that way and stick to what we say.
Lisa, we are a minute away from ending today's conversation. We will certainly continue this conversation because we have like 2 million issues that haven't been covered. But for this last minute, you need to be very strict with this last minute. You taught me once, like a decade ago, that in every company you will find believers and non-believers. Okay. I know that the believers are convinced about change. Can you send a last minute message for the non-believers to embrace change with an open mind, to improve their service, to define their brand, and to embrace purpose and sustainability with believing?
God, Andy, that's a lot of pressure to put on me.
I'm sorry, it's only 45 seconds left now.
Like you said, there'll always be believers and non-believers, but you've got to start with first by being open and being receptive. Nothing can happen. You can't go forward if you don't have the ability to do that, to be open and receptive, because this is all about fear. And just because we that maybe sit in positions of, we have accumulated experience, we still have that fear. We don't have the answers for everything, but we're open to taking in information. So if there's any tip that I'm going to give, be open and be willing to take in information from different sources. Go out and get inspiration. Look at things and get inspiration. Fill yourself with inspiration and then reflect, because inspiration is something that we're never going to lack. It's out there, but we need to be willing to let it in.
Excellent, Lisa. Just in time. Thank you so much. Lisa has been talking with us from Malmo, Sweden. She's pure TNT, pure dynamite. I love working with you, Lisa. Thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom, and hope to see you very soon again here with another conversation.
I hope so. Thank you, Andy, for your time. And by all means, reach. Wait, there we are. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
If you want to talk more, viewers, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. Take care of yourselves too, and all the very best.
Thank you so much. Big hug and lots of love. Bye-bye, Lisa. Thank you.
Bye-bye.